Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new weekend out there so far. Hope you guys had a wonderful 4th of July. I know me and my family did. It was awesome. You know, it's always cool when you make plans and you envision it a certain way and it comes together that exact way, and it certainly did. So I had a good time. Hopefully you guys did too, but moving past now the 4th, now it's time for fall, right? I'm just kidding. I know a lot of people still love their summer and what comes with it, but I know for me, once you get past the 4th of July, I really start to stare down fall and think about it a lot, even though, you know, here in South Carolina, we have a whole lot of summer left. So we're here to talk about the weather. We're going to speak on the tropics first. We have Tropical Storm Chantal with us now. In fact, I was able to wait just a little bit longer with this video to get that 8 a.m. update, and I'm glad I did because they upgraded from a tropical depression to the tropical storm. So we're going to get very detailed on the latest information on this system. We'll talk about what's going on with it right now, as you can see it on your screen off the coast of the southeast. We'll speak on impacts, things like that. Not going to go over a whole lot of model guidance with this just because it's right here at us. And this thing's just pretty much just going to inch its way over the next 48 hours or so closer to the coastline and pretty much just scrape it and then head on out back out to sea and weaken. But we're going to speak in a lot of detail on this system. And then we'll talk about the rest of the country as far as what's going to happen weather-wise for today. We'll speak on a couple days to come, as it does look pretty active for the high plains over the next few days as far as strong to severe thunderstorm activity. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking this morning. So this is Tropical Storm Chantal. So we've worked our way a few names through the list of names for this season, but you know, this looks like your classic sloppy looking lopsided a tropical system. The actual center of circulation, the low level circulation, the heart and soul of these tropical systems is right into here. I don't have my drawing tool up. I didn't think I really need it. I don't think I do, but it's right into here. So this is a great example of not to focus in on, and I'm about to show it to you, like the cone of uncertainty. Everybody thinks that that is an impact cone. It is not. That is where the actual center of the storm system, the tropical system can go. It's not an impact cone, and I'll discuss that more in detail here in a second. But the center of the system's right here, but you notice the entire like west side of the system right over here is pretty much void of any kind of convection, shower and storm activity. And the immediate like center and northern and really the eastern side of the system has all this, you know, all these colors, these greens, yellows, orange, reds, even some blacks in here. This indicates a deeper convection. Colder cloud tops is what this is showing. And yes, well, colder cloud tops. Well, the deeper this convection, the stronger it is. The stronger these updrafts are, and the stronger the updrafts are, the further they get up in the atmosphere. And the further you get up in the atmosphere, the colder it gets. And this is reflected by what you're seeing here on your screen. So most of the thunderstorm activity is on this side. Now you're getting some thunderstorm activity working up against the Carolina coastline now, but center of the system right here. And so you might ask, why is it void of thunderstorm activity on the west side? It's because it's getting blasted by shear. So this is kind of pushing all the convection to the east side of this system. And this is pretty common this time of the year. So the entire western side of the system is being heavily impacted. That's why this thing's not really gaining a lot of strength fast. Even though it's over the Gulf Stream, you see surface temperatures well into the 80s. You know, that's just one element that can strengthen these tropical systems. You need the wind environment to help also. So another way I want to show you guys this, and then we'll move past this. I know I like to hang out on certain things for a while, but I think it's just really cool. As you can see, the sun comes up on the system, so we get a clear satellite view of this. And it's a great example. If you look really closely in here, you can see the cyclonic spin rapidly spinning in this area. That is the actual low-level circulation. It's almost exposed. So if you're exposing that lower level circulation, we'll talk a lot more on this with more high impact tropical systems and just stronger ones. But if you're really exposing that that low level circulation, it's not going to allow for this system to become what you call vertically stacked. You need that deep convection thunderstorm activity over the center of this system for it to really strengthen, and that's just never going to happen with this system unless it just pulls a major wild card, which, who knows, it could. But you can see all the white cumulus and updraft activity and just thunderstorm activity on this side. So I just want to spend some time on that, explain what's going on with this system. Just your traditional lopsided tropical storm. But just because it's lopsided, that doesn't mean it's not going to bring any impacts, and we're going to get into that here in a second. But this is the latest 8 a.m. advisory, so I'm very happy I caught this, especially since it did upgrade from that Tropical Depression 3 to Tropical Storm Chantal. And right now it is a 40 mile per hour tropical storm, moving at a whopping 2 miles per hour north right now. And if you look at this orange area right here around this X, which is X marks the spot, which is exactly where the center of the system is. But that orange area spreading across, this is where we can have tropical storm force winds, winds exceeding 39, 40 miles per hour or higher. So, this is the current advisory. Now, this is the cone. Remember, just because you don't live in the cone, that doesn't mean that you won't see a raindrop or some breezy conditions. There's a big time tight wind gradient in place across the Carolinas today. So we're actually going to get some strong wind gusts across especially South Carolina because of that gradient in place. But, don't focus so much on the cone as far as impacts. Focus on that as far as where the actual heart and soul of the system is going to go. The center of circulation, that L you see on your screen, that is where that could go. So that could potentially go, south of Charleston, or it could go, it could go all the way over the Outer Banks. But right now, the center of the cone, where you see the S, which stands for tropical storm, and the D, which stands for tropical depression, which it goes from the S to the D in the Carolinas because it weakens over land. But, it's saying by, about 2 a.m. Tonight, this should be just about ready to make landfall. And it probably will make landfall, I would say probably right around the wee hours of the morning, tomorrow morning, maybe even before the sun comes up. Some model guidance has it making landfall as early as maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning tonight. So, it's coming. It's going to pick up a little bit of forward steam. But another way that I love looking, another way I like looking at the cone here, because you can zoom and listen, Zoom Earth is wonderful. It's free to the public. It's a great thing you can toggle through, interact with. There's a little bit of a glitch ongoing right here, which normally that's not the case. But this is a tropical storm. It does say it's going to strengthen into a 45 mile per hour tropical storm before making landfall. So a little bit of strengthening with this system is possible. But you can see the tropical storm watches are up, even further south down the coastline, south of Charleston, and then all the way up to about Wilmington. We have tropical storm warnings up, and 45 mile per hour tropical storm maybe sometime tonight, makes that landfall sometime tomorrow morning. And then, the center of the system will get all the way up into the eastern sections of the Carolinas. Now, I will say, the further west this makes landfall, like down the coastline of South Carolina, the higher the tornado threat could potentially be for the eastern areas of especially North Carolina. The east side is the dirty side of these systems, meaning that's where you had the best wind profiles for tornado activity. So we will watch that right now. That's not a big concern, but if it makes landfall, maybe more so down here, that would bring the dirty side of the system, which you see all the white right here, more so inland. Okay, so we'll discuss that as we need to. But moving past this, just another way to interact with the watches and warnings. If you're wondering what's going on in central South Carolina, these are actually lake wind advisories. So tight wind gradient in place. I live actually here in central South Carolina, the Lexington area, and we're going to have some gusty winds today. So a nice breezy day to go along with the just average summer heat. But Charleston right now, you guys, you got tropical storm watches, so going to get some strong gusty winds. As far as heavy rain, you're definitely going to get some rain. In fact, a band of rain is moving through right now, but nothing too crazy. But you start to get up the coastline, up to Georgetown, Myrtle Beach, Murrells Inlet, Litchfield Beach, North Myrtle, You get up to Oak Island, Southport, and get just about up to Wilmington. Wilmington doesn't have, tropical storm warnings right now. That could change. You guys have the tropical storm warnings in this darker shade of red. So Myrtle Beach, you might be waking up this morning like, dang, we got a tropical storm warning. That's pretty crazy. But, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, worried about their beach trip. Guys, honestly, I would just embrace this. Don't go swimming in the waters when a tropical storm off the coastline unless you're just an expert swimmer. You're going to do it regardless of what Mitch says. Especially if you're staying for a week. I understand if you're only going down there for a day and the day you just happen to go, it's going to be a tropical storm. But if you're down there for like 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 days and you get one day where there's a tropical storm, I think that would be pretty cool. Just sitting in one of those hotels in Myrtle Beach watching a tropical storm move through. It would be pretty gnarly, man. If you ask me, but I know not everybody's going to agree with that. But anyways, taking a look at the radar and what's going on with this thing, let's get this in motion. Okay, no, we're good. So you can actually see a little bit of a spin. You got this rain right here and storm activity sort of moving this way. And then a little bit of shower activity out the coast of Georgia, off the coast of Georgia here, kind of going this way. And then this action down here off the coast of Florida, sort of moving this way. You can see the spin. So that low-level circulation right into here. So it's spinning around. We got a pretty decent band of tropical rains moving into southeast North Carolina and the coastline of South Carolina. But the big plume of moisture well off the coastline. This is the shield of rain generated off this tropical storm. So moving forward, though, and taking a look at what the HRRR model is showing, it's a short-range model. It's not the best at the tropics by any means, but as far as short-range model, guys, it's about the only thing we can look at here. So I really wish Pivotal Weather would do a segment for South Carolina, North Carolina, and wouldn't split South Carolina up with Georgia and then North Carolina with Virginia, but this is what we're working with. So I would really put your focus in on this part of your screen if you're tuning in from this area. But we'll start off around 10 a.m., get to about lunchtime. Not a whole lot going on. Gusty winds will be around. We get to about 4 or 5 p.m. We could get some thunderstorms that could sneak all the way into like the eastern Midlands of South Carolina. We had a little bit of a surprise yesterday in South Carolina. We had some nasty storms develop, and it was a day where we had a very low chance of rain. And, it's a pretty low chance of rain across areas of South Carolina today unless you live towards the coastline. But I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't rule out some of these thunderstorms sneaking all the way to Columbia, maybe Augusta, Florence for sure. But as we start to get into the evening hours, this is when some gusty winds will pick up. If you're vacationing in Myrtle Beach, hunker down, nothing to freak out about. But you got quite literally a tropical storm moving in, and you get to 10, 11, you get to about midnight tonight. And this is when kind of the core of the system will push up against the northern South Carolina coastline. So, Georgetown, up to Myrtle Beach, up to North Myrtle, you guys will literally get some tropical storm force conditions on and off. Maybe some gusty 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts are possible. Some of these stronger kind of banding features right here with this tropical storm could produce some gnarly wind gusts, just some really gusty conditions. So just, this isn't going to be anything that's going to rock your hotel or anything like that or cause significant damage, but could, push a little bit of storm surge up, maybe a little bit. Myrtle Beach is an alarming area that I'm very concerned for one day, when a larger hurricane hits, inevitably again, flooding is an issue, so I wouldn't be surprised we get some storm surge that create some impacts, around the Myrtle Beach area, north and south of it, just because you guys, if the center of the storm actually goes through right here, the flow will be onshore, so it'll be pushing up against Myrtle Beach. Okay, it'll be offshore in the Charleston area. If this tropical system makes landfall, say between Charleston and Myrtle Beach, which if you look at the cone, that's kind of what it's liking to do right now. Okay, but if this moves north of Myrtle Beach, then Myrtle Beach could get offshore flow. You don't really have to worry about storm surge as much. So where's the center of the storm go? Right here. This is around midnight tonight. It's right around right here, so your flow is going right up against Myrtle Beach. But, you start to get to 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you're getting these very heavy bands of rain and just gusty winds here in the Myrtle Beach. Charleston probably getting some action too, but more so getting the wraparound offshore flow. So you keep this going. You're getting 3 a.m., 4 a.m. This is the night, guys, into tomorrow morning. And some heavy rains and gusty winds could make it all the way up through Florence. Definitely Conway, obviously. And then, this could push some rain. Maybe as far west as Columbia. Maybe. It's around 8 a.m. around this time tomorrow morning. And then this will bring some rains up through the PD. Up through the Sandhills of North Carolina. And this thing will just spin around. We could get some flash flood warnings tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised. Florence getting some heavy rain still, late tomorrow morning. So be careful. If you're in this area heading off to church tomorrow morning, you'll have to deal with a weak tropical storm moving ahead, tropical depression. And this thing will have a hard time just kind of getting on out of here, getting out of Dodge. And, we take this all the way to about tomorrow evening, still dealing with some rain showers. And eventually this will kind of just slowly spin its way across the eastern sections of North Carolina. So I'll show you how much rain could fall in this area here in a second. But, North Carolina, I want to show you guys. This is starting off around 5 p.m. We're going to get some bands of rain that's possible across the eastern sections of North Carolina. But, not a beach day, not a bad beach day at all across the coastline of North Carolina. And we start to get into the overnight hours. This is 3 a.m. This is when we start to get some tropical downpours from Wilmington. Let's move this down a little bit. I just want to get the time frame. I'll try to remember the time frame as we go. This is 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Some of these bands of rain will try to make it all the way up to Greenville, Fayetteville, even Raleigh. And then we get to 6, 7, 8 a.m. And it's moving in. So a little bit of water pushing up against Wilmington, Jacksonville. Now listen, this is tomorrow morning. Some of these bands are on that, what you call that east side, the dirty side of these tropical systems. So I'd watch out from Wilmington, Jacksonville, any kind of bands of rain and storms that can move along the coastline and just outer banks of North Carolina. Listen, these could produce a quick spin up. You start to get on that east side of this system. I would not be surprised, and this is getting into, what time is this? This is 1 p.m. tomorrow. You see these bands right here? This is tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if they put a marginal risk for a 2% risk of a tornado in this area. We'll have to watch. But we get deeper into tomorrow afternoon, some bands of rain move through. And then this is 6 p.m. tomorrow. So kind of the leftovers of what will likely just be a remnant low or a tropical depression will be surging right through the middle of North Carolina more than likely. So some tropical rains moving through Greensboro, Raleigh. This is why I tell you guys, don't freak out about your beach activities. It's tomorrow afternoon and evening. And you're not getting a washout along the North Carolina coastline. You're actually getting more rain a few hours inland because the core of the system's sort of spinning around North Carolina. And then we get into the overnight hours tomorrow, and whatever's left over will kind of move into Virginia. But, rainfall between now and about 8 p.m. Monday, Charleston and Myrtle Beach, 1 to 2 inches of rain. Could get a little bit more. Florence could get a little bit more than what this is showing. Let's update this and see if this is one. Yeah, this is increased. I actually agree with this more. Now, this takes us about to 8. I'm glad I updated it. That was awesome. 8 a.m. to, I love when things work out. This goes to 8 a.m. Tuesday, okay, in the next few days. Myrtle Beach, they've increased it to about 3 to 4 inches of rain. Florence, now up to over an inch. Charleston, about the same. But you see the eastern areas of South Carolina, a few inches of rain. Columbia, maybe a half an inch. We'll have to see how close it gets. But definitely some cloud cover will make it all the way over into the central sections of South Carolina. Now we take a look at North Carolina, Virginia, etc. This is rainfall between now and 8 a.m. Tuesday. Same thing. Tuesday morning. Few inches of rain in southeast North Carolina, eastern North Carolina. So it really likes a plume of heavy rain between like Charlotte, Greensboro, Point South, Monroe. This little area right here is because that's what what we just discussed. The little center of the storm could go right over this area. So a few inches of rain generated after off the actual center of the storm will go into this region right here. So, but moving forward here, obviously another big deal here is, rip currents. Guys, so take this serious, for sure. If you live in this red areas where you have a high risk of rip currents in these areas, so just be aware of that. Let's see if there's anything else we can show you before we head on off. And then peak storm surge, yeah. So 1 to 3 feet of storm surge. This is basically between Charleston through Myrtle Beach all the way up to Cape Fear, south of Wilmington. 1 to 3 feet of storm surge is possible, and I think that this is good. Not a good thing that's going to happen, but I think this is a good forecast, because if the center of the storm does come down here, this is going to bring the most storm surge right up into here through the Grand Strand, places like that. So if you're vacationing in Myrtle Beach, I don't really think it's anything to freak out about, guys. And I'm probably going to do another video this evening. But it'll be interesting to watch this. I know if I was vacationing in Myrtle Beach, I'd be like, man, it's going to be cool tonight to watch this. But, moving past that, let's talk about the rest of the country for today. So we have the spinning tropical system off the coast of Southeast. We already talked about that. A little bit of moisture hanging out over the Gulf, northeast side, and the northwest side. And we just continue to deal with just nasty flooding conditions across areas of Texas. We don't need no more rain. People were killed. I think the day before yesterday, or either it was yesterday, but I saw it. It's just awful stuff. I think I saw 5-6 people. But let me know in the comments what you're hearing. But it just continues to just kind of clutter up as far as the rain down here in central Texas. But we're getting strands of rain up from Kansas, through areas in Nebraska, Iowa, up through the upper Midwest. And we have rain into Montana with a system that's going to generate some severe weather chances. But this is current conditions, watches, warnings, and advisories. Let's update this, see if we have any changes to this. Heat advisories for New England. So if you live in these orange areas, it's going to get hot today. Flood watches continue for areas of Texas. Flood watches up here for northeast Minnesota. Some dense fog out here. Some extreme heat warnings. And areas of Arizona. Let's see if we have an update of this, because I'm making this video pretty late. But a slight risk level 2 out of 5 across the northern high plains, Montana, areas of the western Dakotas and Wyoming, all the way down into sections of Nebraska. Marginal risk kind of drops down the high plains and goes right back up through the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. Now, what's causing this? We have a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location in this green area here. And then the wind threat with this, the yellow area, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in a given location. But guys, if you live in this black outlined area, that is a 10% risk of significant winds, which is winds exceeding 70, 80, miles per hour. So be aware of that. The hail threats added 15% risk across the yellow area of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. The flooding risk today, we continue to have the slight risk across areas of central Texas. So, Austin down to San Antonio, Waco. Be aware of this, 15% risk of flash flooding, and we're already getting it right now. And then we have a slight risk, really, that's going to develop, I would say, over the next 24 hours or so across areas of eastern South Carolina and then southeast North Carolina. 15% risk of flash flooding within 25 miles in a given location with the impacts from Tropical Storm Chantal. So, but the southeast today, we've already spoken the Carolinas. I'm not going to zoom into those areas again. But one thing that I don't have a tab pulled up that I've been over the last few days is Florida. If you notice, a lot of thunderstorm activity down here in Florida. So be aware of this. You're getting kind of the wraparound flow. So thunderstorms will be hitting you guys across the peninsula of Florida today. No different than what you've seen over the last few days. Tropical Storm Chantal will make landfall tonight across South Carolina, bring impacts to the Carolinas. And then we get into tomorrow morning, and this is what we're looking at. So we got a tropical storm moving inland, probably weakening at this point to a tropical depression. So the Northeast, a pretty quiet day of weather. But as we get into this afternoon, this evening, some clouds, some rain could move into Maine. Looks like it doesn't bring a whole lot to the southern sections of the Northeast, but I mean, honestly, it looks like Maine kind of sticking out like a sore thumb, like it always does. It looks like you guys are going to kind of be notched up into the flow, so you'll continue just to get some showers, some scattered downpours, but nothing too crazy at all. South central U.S. will continue to have this moisture. It just clutters up and dances around down here in Texas. You can see it here, and we get into this afternoon, just kind of some pesky weather for central Texas, and it will continue to be some heavy rains. And then we got some storms forming here in Kansas. These could hit strong to severe limits. We got thunderstorms popping off The Rockies and some storms are looking like they are moving through areas of eastern Colorado, eastern New Mexico. And then these storms could clutter up and hit the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma tonight. This is this evening, and we'll have to see how much they survive overnight. Could wake up tomorrow morning to some thunderstorms across southern Missouri and northern Arkansas. But rainfall, I really want to kind of put our focus down here in central Texas. An inch and a half of additional rainfall between now and this is about 7 p.m. Monday, so hopefully we don't get all this at once. We just need to chill out with the rain. It's happening definitely too fast after not getting a whole lot of rain for a period of time. Now up here in the north central U.S., this is where we'll spend the most time on as far as today's forecast, and just a broad look at things. We take it to about midday, see all the thunderstorms across Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin. Thunderstorms become widespread across the entire UP of Michigan. You see the thunderstorms across areas of Wisconsin, northern Iowa, and then we get into the overnight hours and things will begin to weaken. But definitely widespread coverage. The other thing that we'll zoom into here in a second is what happens here in the western Dakotas. But we'll start there first. This is North Dakota, starting off around 5-6 p.m. Taking about 10 p.m. You can see the thunderstorms near Dickinson. Thunderstorms could hang together here as they get into Bismarck, but it really shows these weakening, and then maybe some heavy rain kind of moves into the northern areas of North Dakota as we get into tomorrow morning. Now we look at South Dakota, maybe a little bit more action here, but we get to about 9 p.m., 10 p.m., hefty line of thunderstorms moving through the northwestern areas of the state of South Dakota. Storms will try to, hold together throughout the overnight hours, and then we get more thunderstorms that might develop 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning, a little bit further south, so we could wake up to just a big area of thunderstorms across central areas of South Dakota tomorrow morning. Iowa, starting out this morning dealing with some thunderstorms, but as we start to get into about 2, 3 o'clock, thunderstorms which could hit severe limits from Fort Dodge up to Mason City, Waterloo, and then we take it up to about 5 p.m. Just widespread thunderstorm activity up here in the northern areas of Iowa. Some storms here in eastern Iowa. They could hit anybody, but man, they look very widespread. Very, very stormy evening, Saturday evening for northern areas of Iowa for sure. And then we start to get into about 10 p.m., 11 p.m. We can get this in motion. 11 p.m. and a lot of thunderstorms begin to take over a good portion of the eastern, southeastern areas of Iowa, and then it heads on off and we're done. So just be careful, Only a marginal risk in place, but these storms can produce some gusty winds, some large hail, so be aware of that. And then Wisconsin, and then our friends here in the UP of Michigan. 2 p.m., widespread thunderstorms from Duluth down to Eau Claire, Rochester, Minnesota also. We'll include a little bit of Minnesota in this, up the Ironwood. Some storms start to impact you guys in the western UP, and then we get into 5 p.m., widespread thunderstorms in the central and western UP at this point. More so central Wisconsin, a lot of thunderstorms. This is 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and then thunderstorms just look widespread in nature across a good chunk of Wisconsin into the UP. And as we start to get into the overnight hours, things should begin to calm on down for your late evening. Western U.S., we have a system up to the north. This will blast a line of storms through areas of Montana today. You can see them up here, a little bit of storms also into Wyoming. We do have a slight risk, a level 2 out of 5 in these areas. And then we get into tomorrow morning, and that's it. Now, just taking a closer look at my friends here in Montana. Look at these storms near Billings. Bozeman could form on top of you guys. Watch out Miles City. Watch how these storms explode and then race off to the northeast and east over the overnight. Well, this is actually the evening hours. So starts off around, as early as like lunchtime, and then they form, are pretty strong to severe, producing the potential for some damaging winds and large hail. And then they, race off into Canada or either North Dakota. So be aware of those storms for today. And then we'll take a look at Wyoming also. And this is what we're looking at. I would just more so watch for the eastern sections of Wyoming. This is 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., especially the northeastern areas, maybe up towards Gillette, maybe a little bit further even east of that. So, and then temperatures warm across the board, especially the east central U.S. Lower Michigan will get, it's going to even be warm up here in Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan, but definitely a warm day across the eastern U.S. for sure. Only areas that'll be saved from the really hot temperatures is areas kind of socked in the cloud cover. But this is the western U.S. Nothing to really mention extreme one way or the other. So I will say a pretty active pattern will remain throughout the weekend and early next week for the high plains. So a slight risk is in place for the central high plains. Level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. And this is for areas of Nebraska, Kansas, looks like a portion of Wyoming, and then areas of Colorado. Level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. 2% risk of a tornado. The wind threats, yellow area, remember that's that 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. But that black outlined area, guys, I mean, that is a 10% risk of significant wind gusts, 70, 75, 80 miles per hour. And the hail threat, yellow area, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. That black outline area, that's a 10% risk of significant sized hail, 2 inch in diameter or larger. So tomorrow's severe weather threat, a tick higher, I would say a tick worse maybe compared to today. So day 3, we'll have a severe weather threat across our friends. Chris, watch out tomorrow, Broken Bow. You know, you're probably going to have a higher risk of strong to severe thunderstorm activity. But level 2 out of 5 risk here. I do want to mention there's a marginal risk that goes all the way up through areas of South Dakota, Minnesota, all the way up to the Canadian line here. And what we know now is that there is just a 15% risk of any severe weather, but there's also a 10% risk of significant severe weather. We don't know what that is, but it will most likely be for hail or either damaging winds or either both. Anything past day 3, I'll be honest, I hadn't even looked. No. So, and risk of excessive rainfall, nothing really to write home about. So, see if there's anything else to cover. That's it. I don't have a Bible devotion this morning. It was a late night, not going to lie. I stayed way past my bedtime, which for some people isn't even late. Made it to about 11 o'clock, but that is about 3 hours past your boy's bedtime. So it was hard. It got to the point where I was like, okay, you know, I'm pretty much done with these fireworks. And you know what? Some of my friends on here will probably disagree, but funny story about fireworks. I'm not a huge fan of them. I'm not a huge fan of buying them. I remember I used to buy at least a little bit every single year, whether it was for New Year's or the 4th of July. And then one year I bought like a $60, $70 like grand finale thing, which today that probably ain't nothing. But man, this probably had to happen 10, 11, 12 years ago. Maybe about 10 years ago. And I bought it and I thought it was just going to be like this thing where it shot off multiple mortal shells. And I bought it and it literally was just a glorified fountain of sparks. And I looked up my she's my wife now, but she was my girlfriend then. My wife, and I was like, yeah, I will never buy a lot of fireworks again. I think since then, the most I've ever bought was probably about $30 worth, and that's just some sparklers and poppers for my little girls. So I'm very lucky to have and blessed to have awesome neighbors that got the fireworks. I provided the water slide, a lot of the food, and we all came together, and we had a really cool party yesterday. But yeah, I'm not a fan of blowing my money in the air. But anyways, God bless all y'all. Stay safe. There's a chance I'll do a video tonight. Just don't want to guarantee it. Just to give you guys, especially from my local folks in the Carolinas, an update on the tropics. So have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.